life and how to balance both worlds. We continue our theme on living intentionally, or living a life of intention, or intentional living. Whatever tickles your fancy, darling, that's what we're talking about. And this week, I would like to share with you what my quarterly and monthly planning process is like. I like that you guys found a lot of insight in my annual planning process. But you see, after you've planned for a year, the truth is it's far out. It's 365 days out. It's 52 weeks out. And you kind of need to still break it down. So like I shared in last week's video, when you've looked at your entire year's goals for the 8 well-beings, you're going to break them down into objectives. So each goal can either be broken down into 3 objectives or 4 objectives. And so you can therefore divide your year either into thirds or into quarters, depending on how many or the number of objectives that you've picked out for each of the well-beings. And so now when at the point when you're doing your annual plan, you will look at what you should do for each of the quarters or each of the thirds. I usually do quarters. I love quarters. So you look at what you'll do in each of the quarters. Let me say quarters because that's what I'm used to. You look at each of the quarters and you kind of plan out what you're going to do. But now, every quarter, you need to come and look at those plans again, right? Look at them and then ask yourself, well, how did last quarter go and how did this quarter go? So again, I meet my accountability partner every quarter. So we meet 4 times a year to go through our plans, to see if what we planned in for the entire year is still on track, even in these small little quarters that we have. So we'll meet in every 3 months, and when we meet, we go through really 3 steps, and this one is usually a day's work. The first thing that we shall do usually is review our previous quarter. Okay, no, that's really not the first one. The first one is we'll usually first catch up. I mean, she's my accountability partner, so anyway, we'll usually first catch up and see how we're doing. And so in the catching up, we kind of hear a bit of what's happening in each of the well-beings because we're catching up, right? And then we bring out our planning pack. And when we bring out our planning pack, the second thing that we're going to do after doing this catch up, where we're kind of hearing each other, hearing where we're going, hearing our frustrations, hearing our victories, hearing, just hearing in general, how are you? Because that's the first question we ask, like, how are you doing, right? When we're with that in the back of our minds, we now go to the second step when we've pulled out our planning pack. And when we've pulled it out and we're looking at the second step, usually that second step is to review the previous quarter on paper, right? So we'll look at the quarter and say, so what did we say we would be done in by the time this quarter ends? What were the objectives that we had for each of the well-beings? And then we ask ourselves, what did we accomplish and what didn't we accomplish? And if we accomplished, how come we accomplished it? If we didn't accomplish, why didn't we accomplish that particular goal that we had? And then when you've examined the why, we're really just pulling out of each other and asking questions. Especially, remember, we did that beginning part where we're asking, how are you doing? And so based on that background, we're able to see what happened this quarter that you were not able to, or that made it possible for you to. Because then the last part is we take on the lessons. What is it that we accomplished? Why did we accomplish it? Take on the lessons and see if we can apply them to what we didn't accomplish and why we didn't accomplish it, so that we can take the lessons from what we accomplished and put it into what we didn't accomplish. So say, for example, last week I was giving you an example of being able to save by the end of the quarter 10 million. So if you've not saved the 10 million, then the question we ask is, why didn't you save the 10 million? So maybe in that period there was a sick parent or a sick child, or I don't know, a thing like a wedding or something like that, to the point that money had to go away, or maybe you came across a wonderful investment that you couldn't let go of, that was actually in line with your financial goal for the year, where you are supposed to get a particular investment, only that maybe we had planned to get it in Q4, but guess what, it came in Q1. And so at the point of reviewing, there was no way you could have saved the entire 10 million because you were using it to invest it, right? Meaning your Q4 goal has been accomplished in Q1, but yes, it did affect your Q1 goal, but that's fine. So anything could have happened that could have affected your saving that 10 million every month. And so we're asking why. Now, if it's an okay thing, we'll let it go, like the one where you had to buy an investment, you had to invest in something, or an investment came up, a good opportunity of an investment came up to the point that you couldn't save. Usually that one will let it go because, well, you had planned to do it in Q4 anyway, so your Q4 goal has already been accomplished. But if it was something like, let's say, a sick relative, so now we're going to say, okay, so what do we need to do so that next time you can still save 10 million, okay, and still also take care of a sick relative? So then maybe we'll say something like, okay, so let's look at your monthly income. Do you think that we can reduce your saving amount, your spending amount, maybe by 10% every month, so that 10% goes to sick relatives, so that next time, if a sick relative comes up, you're still able to save the money, you're able to save the full amount of money that you want to save, but you also have a certain extra 10%, which now is going to treating a sick person. Does that make sense? Without it touching your savings, because now at this point we're like, okay, man, next month we don't know what's going to happen. Okay, something similar might happen that would make you unable to save. If that's the case, let us do something about it now. So you see, you're taking the lessons of what has happened the previous quarter and using them for the things that failed to happen. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at our incoming quarter. Okay, that's our third step. We look at our incoming quarter. Remember, at the annual plan, we had already done this quarter, right? We had already planned it. So we now just bring it out and have a look at it. Based on what has happened in the previous quarter, are there any carry forward goals or carry forward objectives that have to come from the other quarter and into this quarter? And therefore, how do they affect the incoming goals? So we're looking at the carry forward goals, bringing them in here, looking at the ones that were already in this quarter, okay, that we're supposed to accomplish at the same time that we are looking at the ones that we're not able to accomplish and the ones that we were able to accomplish in the previous quarter. What does this mean for this quarter now? What does it mean that has to be done? Because now is a time for us to make changes, if indeed there are any changes that we need to make. So say, for example, last quarter, instead of saving 10 million, you saved 5 million, okay? Now, that is a carry forward goal, okay? So there's a 5 million here that needs to come into this quarter. So now we start asking, are you going to be able to do the 5 million this quarter? Or should we distribute this particular 5 million into 3 quarters, into the 3 remaining quarters, so that we kind of have like a 1.8 additional to the 10 million. So it will now be, you have to save 11.8 million this particular quarter. And how will it mean in terms of how much you're going to save every month, and therefore how much every week? So we start to ask ourselves those questions at that point. And based on the how are you doing, based on that background, we'll be able to tell whether we're actually going to possibly do it or we are not. You know what I mean? So we're now asking, okay, so are we going to put the 5 million here so that you're going to try and save 15 million? Or are we going to distribute the 5 million to this quarter and the next quarter? So we make then that decision based on how we were doing or how we are doing at that point, how we are feeling, how the last quarter went. We can then be able to determine what therefore is going to happen with this particular quarter. So say, for example, you say, you know what, since it's 5 million, let's do 2 million for this quarter, 2 for the next quarter, and 2 for the next quarter. So that's 6 million. Not too bad. You'll go over and above your savings, so that's cool. So we're thinking, so she said you've saved 5 million here. Now here you're going to look to save 12 million. 12 million divided by the 4 weeks of divided by the 3 months in a quarter, that is 4 million. That is 4 million in that per month of that quarter. and of that 4 million, that's 1 million per week. So her goal is already set. Okay, your goal is already set at this point. Okay, so now we are saying, okay, we've carried it forward. Okay, we've carried forward, we've gotten a carry forward goal. We've looked at the current goal that was supposed to be inside this month, and now we literally have a new goal. So any changes that have to be made get made now. So say for example, before I was saving, because remember before she was having to save 800k, but now you're having to save 1 million. So that 200, where is it going to come from is a question. You understand what I mean? Where is that 2 million, that 200,000 going to come from? So really, you understand where I'm coming from? Now I want you to remember that I'm just using these amounts because I needed good amount to calculate in my head since I'm not writing right now. Don't be scared about saving 10 million. You can even save 1 million a month. Don't worry about that, or 1 million a quarter. Ultimately, just save it. I just needed to be able to calculate these amounts really well so that I can explain better. So now you will make the changes that you need to make. So that is our third step. So the first step is how are you doing? Second step is review the previous quarter. The third step is review the incoming quarter. And then the fourth step is we edit the calendar. So remember, we had already done the calendar at the start of the year, right? We'd already done the calendar and we'd already written out what's supposed to happen in the calendar. So this is the point. The fourth step is for us to be able to edit our calendar now based on our changes that we've made. After we've reviewed our carry-on goals, our current goals, we now have to come up with a whole new calendar. So I'll give you an example. Say for example, you had said that you are going to have a board meeting and then one of your board members wasn't available. And now this quarter, it would mean you need to have 2 board meetings. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So you're going to have to switch up your calendar to make sure that at the end of the year, you still have 4 board meetings, even if some were back to back. So you find that you need to make changes at this point. And usually when I say I'm editing my calendar, I edit a total of 3 calendars. I edit my phone calendar, I edit my wall calendar. So there's a wall calendar for me to be able to have a snapshot of what's happening in the year. And then I also edit my desk calendar so that all calendars can see exactly what is. They can all be the same wherever I am. If I'm at my bedside, if I'm at my work desk, if I'm at home, if I am at work, wherever I am, I can be able to see what's happening with my calendar. So our calendars are part of our planning pack whenever we go away to plan together. Now, again, if this sounds like it's so cool and this is something you'd like to be able to do, don't worry about having an accountability partner. You'll get your accountability partner at the annual personal planning getaway because you actually need to plan with someone who plans the way you do. So just come on over to the annual personal planning getaway. All the details are in the description box. This October 28th, 29th, and 30th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we'll be going away to plan our year. And when we plan out our year, we're looking at our year, we're looking at our quarters. And next week, I'm going to show you my own personal planning method for my weeks. Now, what we've discussed is my quarterly planning, but I also use it for my monthly planning. I thought I should say that. I go through the same thing, review the previous month, look at the current, the incoming month, carry on goals for the month, and then edit my calendar. And usually I do this with my accountability partner over the phone. This one we don't meet, but we talk over the phone. So this particular one was really my quarterly and my monthly planning process. It's the same for this one, but when it comes to my weekly planning process, it's a bit different. So you want to yes, you want to attend the annual personal planning getaway, but you also want to watch next week's video. Until next time, see you, bye-bye.